Kenya, school meals are vital to children's health and their ability to learn effectively. In many contexts, these meals will be the main source of balanced nutrition for children. Primary schools in Kenya provide at least one meal a day for pupils, with secondary schools, where the majority of learners are boarders, providing breakfast, lunch and supper. Of the 40,000 primary and secondary educational institutions in Kenya, more than 90% rely on wood fuel for cooking meals for staff and pupils. This translates to 1.3 million metric tons of firewood being consumed each year in Kenya, contributing substantially to deforestation in the country. The fuel wood is typically burned in large purpose-built stoves to cook meals of rice, beans, githeri, which is a mixture of maize and beans, and other traditional foods that can take a long time before readiness. Combustion of the wood creates an environment of toxic smoke in the school kitchens, and this is inhaled by the school cooks, but also by pupils and teachers as the air pollution permeates into school spaces, including classrooms and playgrounds. Here I am at a primary school that's reliant on wood for cooking school meals for its 2,000 pupils and 50 staff. Kwanjenga Primary School is located in the second largest informal settlement in Kenya, and in fact one of the largest in Africa. It's located in the eastern suburbs of Nairobi. I spoke to the head teacher, Lena Karaoke, to find out more about the school, its children and the preparation of its food.
In the school we have a population of around 2,300 children, boys and girls, who take their lunch here every day. By the end of the day, there are some children who will carry the same meal to share with their sibling. So it is absolutely necessary. We cannot do without the lunch, because the children come from very poor background, most of them, where they hardly can afford a meal per day. And so the only meal they are getting and they are comfortable in is the lunch we are offering here at school. And the lunch is prepared in this smoky kitchen. We have beans, maize and beans, the local food we call githeri, and it has to be cooked soft because we are using hard grains. So sometimes it takes very many hours to be soft enough for the children to be able to chew, because if it's not well cooked, they waste it, they will throw it down, they won't finish the food. But once it's cooked soft, they eat and they enjoy it and they are okay to learn. If they miss a meal, it is very, very hard to concentrate in class. So you find some sleeping, some dozing, some are so, you would think that they are sick, or because they have missed the lunch here. They will come here even when they are sick. The program has helped us sustain the population of the school, because we have got very few cases of absenteeism.
Nani atabeba food kama ni mingi itabaki? Nani atabeba ende nayo home? Nani huwa anabeba anaweka kwa paper anabeba?
We start very early in the morning. We make fire. Our good ladies here, the cooks, they come quite early and they leave very late, because we have to leave some food sometimes on the jiko. So the process of lighting the jikos is just terrible because of the smoke, and particularly like a weather like now when it is very wet. Sometimes our wood is wet, it has been rained on, and to bring it to make fire, it is not easy. So these ladies, throughout the day, their eyes are just wet, their nose are just running because of the smoke. And in the process of making the fire, they have to bend to make it work. They are using their bare hands. They have no good protection clothes, protective clothes. So most of the time they will get scalded, they will get burnt, and then somebody will be out of duty for a week or so. And this is a person who is in need of this little money they get here. They have children to feed. So being out of work, it means so much for them.
Kwa hivyo motivation yako ni kwa sababu hapa ndio unapata pato lako.
Hapa ndio riziki yangu ya kila siku.
Hiyo ndio inakupatia msukumo wa kuendelea kuja shuleni.
Sina mahali pengine penye nategemea. Ni hapa tu ndio watoto wafanye ni wakule. Sasa nashindwa vile naweza acha, siwezi acha hii kazi. Hii kazi inatuumiza. Inatuumiza. Hata hii macho jua ikiwaka, utembee huko nje uoni. Wewe umefunga tu macho, mkundo inaangalia tu mahali penye inakanyaga. Macho haiwezi ona.
Our research group Cleaner Africa has worked with Lena and the school to understand how cooking with wood contributes to levels of air pollution in the school environment. We did this by installing small monitors in the school kitchen, classrooms and the playground, and also placed in a special apron worn by the school cooks.
So, nataka kuacha hii gadget hapa ni ya kumesha air hapa kwa jikoni. We have two. This is the for measuring the particulate matter. Inaitwa UPAS. You see it's blinking. Yeah, and then this one is for measuring the carbon monoxide.
The monitors recorded levels of particulate matter, or PM2.5, and also carbon monoxide, and these are pollutants known to be particularly damaging to health. What we found was shocking. The World Health Organization recommends that levels of PM2.5 should not be above 35 micrograms per metre cubed, and ideally much lower to protect health. We observed levels in the kitchen almost 5 times this guideline level, with more than 3 times the safe level for the cooks preparing the meals, but also in the classrooms where the pupils study. Even in the playground, levels of PM2.5 were almost 3 times higher than the WHO guideline. These are average levels over a full day. In fact, when cooking is being carried out, there are massive peaks with levels well above 1,000 micrograms per metre cubed experienced by the school cooks whilst they're in the kitchen. So the problem with this reliance on wood by schools is clear for health and protection of forests, but what are the alternatives? A small number of schools use charcoal, and Cleaner Africa has conducted research at this primary school in Mukuru, which produces its own charcoal briquettes for cooking. Whilst lower than wood, our research has shown that pollution levels are still way above WHO guideline levels. And of course, charcoal production has an even larger impact on forest reserves. LPG, known locally as cooking gas, electricity, ethanol and biogas are options for clean cooking. But so far, only LPG is practical for the majority of schools. LPG is clean, modern and meets the requirements for cooking for large school populations. But despite this, less than 2% of schools in Kenya currently use LPG. Managed by the Equity Bank Development Foundation, a promising new financial assistance programme was launched in Kenya. This was designed to support conversion of school kitchens from wood to clean cooking with LPG. The programme has the ambitious goal of reaching all schools within a few years.
We started the clean cooking program in schools as a realization that our trees that we are planting are in danger. But also we realized from research we are losing a lot of people from indoor air pollution. That's the struggle that we have in schools. So it's an environmental issue, it's a health issue, it's a cost issue, it's an efficiency issue. I dare call it a human rights issue, because when you go to some of those kitchens, you cannot stand in that kitchen for more than a minute because of that inhalation of so it's a big issue that we're trying to solve. And we started the first pilot with a school in Nairobi. And nobody, before we did that transition in one of the biggest schools in Kenya, nobody knew that even schools in Nairobi are struggling with firewood in the city. So we were able to do a very successful conversion at Alliance High School here in Nairobi, just in the outskirts of Nairobi. And we were able to transition them successfully to LPG. So this is a message that we're taking to schools. And when they are convinced that this is the right way to go, and the board approves, then they say, how much is it? So we work with our partners who do LPG reticulation. We have a number of partners who then go and do the assessment of the school. They provide a quotation, they do all the designs, the drawings and everything. They provide a quotation. And then most schools then, they will need funding. How do we fund this? So at Equity Bank then, we are able to provide a facility that allows the schools to convert, and they pay over time. And we can even stretch it to 5 years. But what we have seen, because of the efficiency gains that the schools are getting, especially when the LPG prices were lower, schools could even pay that facility in 3 installments. In a year, maximum 2 years, not even 5 years.
I'm at the Alliance High School in Nairobi, a public secondary school with 1,900 boarding students, which was the first school to convert to LPG under the Equity Bank initiative. The school switched to clean cooking with LPG in March 2021.
Our fuel, our cooking for the food in the school has always been, for a long time, wood fuel or firewood. Of course that has its own challenges. The need to cut so many trees to cook for 2,000 plus. And therefore, at some point the school thought we need to really impact on the food fuel, and decided to invest in a biogas plant using the manure from the cows. The school has a small herd of dairy cows, and unfortunately it didn't work very well. It wasn't efficient enough in terms of giving adequate gas, and the school actually reverted back to firewood until around 2019, when there was a pilot project to use LPG, and one stove was installed in 2019, which actually realized that yes, this is something that can work. And in 2020, during the COVID break, the entire project was rolled out, and the entire kitchen was converted to LPG.
The conversion is very simple because we are not replacing the cooking infrastructure already in schools. All what we are doing is a fuel substitution. We are utilizing the already existing boilers within a school setup.
So that's the only innovation. An LPG burner with a gas pipe inside in place of firewood.
And since then, the schools resumed after COVID. All food has been cooked using the LPG. There is very little usage of firewood, only on one water boiler. So that also serves the kitchen, but that one is quite efficient, uses very little firewood. When you look at the impact that it is having on the environment, we are not cutting trees anymore. And we need these trees to, of course, to clean up the environment. We are looking at a cleaner kitchen. Now we don't have the smoke. There used to be a lot of smoke, a lot of soot, of course, which was a health hazard to the cooks. And so definitely it's a cleaner environment for them. We don't
Saa zingine tunakunywa maziwa ndio kwa utulie.
Unakunywa maziwa?
Ndio angalau utulie. Sasa hii shida tulikuwa nayo hata kwa dawa zibeli.
Yeah.
Unakuja asubuhi au unakuja jioni masaa saa 8, unarejea githeri yako.
So chakula iko imeiva?
Yes. Lunch time imefika, unakuta mchele imeiva nusu, sababu kuni haikuwa inasambaza moto kila mahali. Si kama vile gas unaibalance. Sasa unakuta mchele imeiva pande.
I spoke to one of the students, the school captain, who experienced life in the school before and after conversion of the kitchens to cooking with LPG.
So prior to 2020, when we initiated the LPG gas project in the kitchen, we used to use wood as a main source of fuel for the school. And you could really tell we were using wood in the kitchen, because if you look at the locality, we are in some sort of cool and wet climate. So you'll find that most of the time the wood used to be wet, and when you burn wet wood, what you get is a whole lot of smoke. And if you look at the structure of a dining hall, it is next to the kitchen. The kitchen is a subsidiary of the dining hall. So when there's smoke in the kitchen, most of the times it used to seep into the dining hall, especially in the morning. But then it wasn't as notable because we had gotten used to it. We only came to realize it now after we switched to now LPG, and you find that there's less pollution. You can feel the air is much more cleaner than it used to be.
Just because the school kitchen is using LPG does not mean we can simply assume air quality now meets the WHO guideline level for health. Use of LPG might not be exclusive. For example, some wood fuel might still be being used for boiling water and other purposes. There might also be other sources of air pollution within the school from burning of waste. So how effective is clean cooking with LPG in reducing air pollution to improve health? Our Clean Air Africa research programme will be measuring air pollution in schools before and after switching to LPG under the Equity Bank initiative, employing the same methods as we saw being used in Kwanjenga Primary School. This will help us understand the positive impacts on health from improved air quality following the switch to clean cooking. There are powerful arguments for changing school kitchens from wood to clean fuels like LPG that require policy attention. The health of cooks, students, staff and the local communities are all top priorities. But the supply of wood fuel and associated costs are also very important, and to date these have been the main drivers for the school themselves to change. We've already heard that the demand for wood fuel is placing a huge burden on the nation's forests. But obtaining it can also be a major headache for the schools themselves.
We are using firewood, like the ones you can see behind us. It is very hard to get this wood because the vendors go as far as outside Nairobi County, where there are forests, like in Limuru, among others. So felling the wood from Limuru, which is like almost 50 kilometers from Nairobi or so, close to 100 kilometers, by the time the wood is reaching school, it is very expensive. We are using close to 100,000 per term on wood fuel. This one is a big toll on the school, because we have to get money again from the parents. Sometimes we are forced to send children to the parents to ask for money so that the kitchen can run. So getting that wood is terrible.
Clean Air Africa is committed to the thorough evaluation of the conversion of schools to clean cooking, and we'll be studying this over the next few years. But experience so far with conversion to LPG seems very encouraging.
The good thing is, since it's a fuel substitution, they were already paying suppliers of firewood. Now it's to divert that to pay suppliers of LPG. All what they need is that initial capital to set up the initial infrastructure of the bulk storage, of the piping, of the installation of burners, safety measures like gas leak sensors and all that, fire extinguishers, training, and all that process of LPG electrification. That's the only assistance they need in terms of funding. Because in terms of running the system after that, it's the same money that they were using to pay firewood, now they are paying an LPG supplier.
Technically, the cost is not very different. It's almost the same, especially in the recent past. Fuel prices worldwide has gone up, especially because of the crisis in Ukraine. And so generally prices of fossil fuels have gone up, and so LPG prices also have gone up. But it is the costs in terms of now the other benefits is what really makes it a very exciting project and a very exciting way to provide energy in the kitchen. And so this is something that's fully sustainable. It's extremely sustainable.
What about a resource-poor school like Kwanjenga? How does the head teacher feel about the prospect of her school kitchen switching from wood to LPG for cooking?
I've heard about LPG, and particularly the one sponsored by Equity Bank. I've heard of it. I've seen some homes who are using LPG and they are very comfortable with that. We wouldn't mind. I think it's the only solution here.
And how do you think it would operate in the school?
As the head, we have to sit with the management of the school. We discuss about it, so that, and then we invite the equity group so that they can sensitize the board members and the parents, so that whatever monies or levies needed to install the fuel, the plant in school, then everybody will have owned that.
Maybe to add more to what Purity has just highlighted, we are in a city where we don't have forest.
Yeah.
The forests which are around here are depleted because of human encroachment.
True.
So getting wood, the person sourcing for this wood goes as far as Limuru, which is almost 50 kilometers from here.
Yeah, from here.
So when it is wet, it is very hard for these trucks to access the forest.
Sure.
So you order the fuel today, you wait for it for like 2 weeks for them to deliver.
Sure.
That time we are struggling with the cooking and all that.
Time duration.
And as she has said, sometimes we receive very wet wood.
Yeah.
Health-wise, the cooks are affected because the smoke is just too much. So cooking time takes long, but above all, their health. We have these ladies in the kitchen, they cough a lot, there's a lot of congestion, lung diseases is just too much on them.
Perhaps we can get from Purity to give us the costing of how much are we spending on fuel for instance, maybe 1 term, in a term. How much are we spending on fuel?
For 1 term, we use 2 tons. 1 ton is 80.
80 what?
80,000.
Okay.
So if we multiply by 2, we'll get 160. 160,000.
And then 160 times 3.
Yeah, times 3 tons.
So we get a total for the whole year.
Yeah.
So for almost a whole year, we are spending almost like $500,000 Kenya shillings
On firewood.
on
480.
480. It's going to give us value for money because we shall have quite a big chunk of savings from the figure that we are currently spending on firewood if we did that transition into LPG. So it makes a lot of economic sense.
The LPG school kitchen conversion initiative appears to be effective and sustainable and also offer value for money. But what are the prospects for scale in Kenya? Equity plan to continue scaling the initiative for Kenyan schools through the loan facility process that we've seen implemented at Alliance High School. In addition, another major bank, Kenya Commercial Bank, known as KCB, has started to support other schools in the country transition to LPG through a discounted loan facility. These programmes are being scaled alongside a target that has been set by the Kenyan government for all schools to transition to LPG for clean cooking over the next few years. The Ministry of Education is working closely with both banks to support schools to convert to clean cooking through these loans. For other countries where schools are reliant on wood for cooking and addressing deforestation is an urgent priority, scaled transition to LPG under the Equity and KCB Foundation's finance programmes offer a solution in the near future. Both banks are established in a number of other East African countries, including Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, DRC and South Sudan, and programmes are being developed for schools in these countries. With its state-of-the-art air pollution monitoring facility here at the Kenya Medical Research Institute in Nairobi, Clean Air Africa will be measuring improvements in air quality and health as schools transition away from reliance on wood to clean modern cooking. The evidence will help inform policies to ensure progress towards clean cooking for all schools in Kenya and the wider sub-Saharan African region. As well as improved air quality in the school environment, which is necessary for the health and well-being of school staff and learners, reducing reliance on wood will also ensure energy security, allowing regular nutrition for children, which is vital to the education of Africa's up-and-coming generation.